Our next speakers are the co-founders of Marigold PR, which is Canada's top PR firm for licensed producers and national brands. Please welcome to the stage Bridget Hoffer and Katie Pringle.
Test. Hello, can you hear me okay? Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us. What a great event today. New Green Frontiers really put on a good show. The speakers have been incredible. Bridget and I are really pleased to be up here today with you. So as per the introduction, we're Marigold PR. We work with licensed producers, national and international brands to help raise their profile across Canada. We've been in the cannabis space for close to 2 years. It makes up 90% of our business at this point. It's a very challenging and exciting environment, and I'd like to echo some of what we've heard up today, is you've never worked so hard as you do in cannabis, given how quickly everything is moving along. So I'm Katie, and this is Bridget.
And I'm Bridget, and we're delighted to be here. And actually, we're really excited because some of our clients are here as well. So we specialize in, as Katie was saying, national brands, but licensed producers, clinics, national clinics, telemedicine, and a number of producers. So we feel like being here, we're in great company, and now we're excited to talk about the cannabis space. So I'm going to start it off, and we'll wrap up with some questions at the end. But the three areas in terms of challenges are stigma, regulations, and we should have regulations and risks, and of course knowledge. So when you think about the stigmas, just October 17th, cannabis became legal for recreational use. So when we're working with clients, what we see is overcoming those stigmas, discretion, understanding that some people don't want to be seen in that space. There's also issues about how do you market it, how do you overcome that? And so what we know is that by over-communicating and working with your clients for them to understand acceptance, legalization, where they sit on the spectrum in terms of the risks that they're trying to push, it's actually quite a big deal. When you work with the overcoming the stigma in terms of legalization, it's really about becoming a known brand with a known story. So it all kind of ladders back to that. In terms of the regulations, it's changing constantly. So where your clients sit in the spectrum of risk to being risk averse. Again, it's how far do you want to push it? We have clients who say to us, look at that Corona beer ad. Why isn't my rec brand on television being marketed right now? Those are the challenges that people think about. So that's what you have to really understand, how far you want to push it. Do you want to push it, or are you going to comply? Again, being a known brand with a known story is really important. Finally, when you think about the knowledge side, most Canadians know very little about cannabis. It's a whole new space. So what we're seeing and what we're helping with our clients is trying to tell their story in an authentic, honest, accurate way so that Canadians feel well informed to make good choices about their products and what they want. So really, it's over-communicating wins, understanding where you want to sit in the spectrum in terms of risk and regulations, and overcoming stigmas leading to acceptance. So the Cannabis Act prohibits, and I've talked about all these things, price and distribution, appealing to young people, no kids, everything's gated. You can't depict characters or well-known icons. Advertising in any environment is gated. Testimonials or endorsements. It was really interesting to think about all the brand endorsers and brand ambassadors that are out there that have to rethink their role post-legalization. And presenting brand elements. Okay, I love this. Positive, negative, emotion, and glamour, recreation, vitality, risk, daring. Great ads. Can you talk about boring promotion? But again, you've got to just really push beyond that.
Right. And so, understanding what the Cannabis Act looks like now, we know that it doesn't look like the events we saw this summer. It doesn't look like big sponsored billboards and logos everywhere. It doesn't look like the interesting campaigns that we're seeing coming out of the US, where they can do some outdoor and they can do more traditional advertising. And it certainly doesn't look like the packaging that we're going to find at the OCS or in any of the retailers. And so where do the opportunities sit for brands to build a brand and to do it in a compliant nature? And the areas that we work in are just these. So, PR and media, number one. So the media is allowed to talk about brands, allowed to talk about businesses, and allowed to talk about companies in a way that cannabis brands can't talk about themselves. So working with a PR firm like Marigold to pitch your brand and pitch your company and getting you in front of the media, in front of consumers or B2B, in front of investors, whatever your audience is really a great place to start. Content provides another avenue of opportunity, and so a lot of the LPs are playing in the educational content realm, which is, I think, a big thumbs up, because we do know that consumers are very confused. They don't know what's going on. They don't even know what's legal. Is that... That's not me.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I guess we have to go. Yep. Remain calm. Do we wrap it up? Just stand here and smoke. Do we wrap it up?
Sure, we'll just have a seat. Oh. We're good?
Stay in the room, please. Okay, we're short little networking break. Hopefully nobody has a headache now, so apologize for that. But guys, let's give it up again for Bridget and Katie. Take it away.
Is my mic on? Okay, we'll just start. All right, so oh, wait, 1 second,
I feel like it's Tinkerbell or something. Yay! Yay! Yay!
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Great. Okay. We're good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to everyone for staying with us. Okay, let's go. Kate.
It's hard to talk about. Okay. All right, so we talked through some of the compliant marketing opportunities, PR and media being a huge factor off the top. Content is another really creative opportunity for people, and like I was saying before, education is playing a huge role in this. And we do see opportunities with content marketing that we're not, with educational content that we're not seeing with other kinds of content, meaning sometimes Facebook, sometimes Google is allowing you to promote content if it fits within their rules. And so like Bridget said, we've got the Canadian guidelines to contend with, but then on top of that, platforms like Facebook, like Google, big monster platforms that all brands use, they also have their own rules and their own guidelines. So that adds another layer of complication because in Canada, even though we can come to understand our federal rules, we have to look at the other platforms and learning their in-house position. Industry and B2B promotion provides another really great opportunity for networking and promoting your brand because it's seen to be age-gated and it's industry-focused. There are a lot more opportunities there. Building your owned audience, this is something that you hear the big guys talk a lot about, and that's building your email marketing, that's building your social channels, that's building all of these owned audiences that give you an opportunity to connect with people. Because definitely once you have someone's email address and once you can talk to them one-to-one, that is definitely a different kind of situation than trying to put out an ad to the entire world. So building your audience, really very important. And then in-store and in-clinic are some interesting opportunities, especially on the medical clinic side. There are some really neat ways to get your brand in front of the right people.
So it's always about your audience, it's always about your customers, and it's, in this case, understanding what your customers are looking for. For a long time, we've talked about medical cannabis or medicinal cannabis, but now we're talking about recreation and wellness and how each group has their own set of needs. So when you think about wellness and you think about medicinal, there's an opportunity to really look at what they're looking for. So one of our clients, Hello MD, Canada and US, is very much focused on convenience, excellent care, and discretion because it's a telemedicine cannabis opportunity. A lot of clients want to keep their cannabis trips to the clinic, etc., to themselves, and there's also the whole notion of convenience. So that's a benefit in terms of the medical space or medicinal space that people are looking for. They're also looking for the opportunities around wellness, which is kind of the sweet spot between recreational brands and health brands as an entry point into the cannabis space. And then finally, there's also the medical space or the recreational space, which really is about finding ways to position and create usage and affinity and proximity of the brand within the new rec market. Making the customer the hero of your story is one of the things that we focus on with our clients because what it's about is creating that brand relevance, that demonstrating the emotional benefits to create an intrinsic relationship with the brand where the customer sees themselves reflected in the cannabis space or the recreational or health and wellness space. It's also about the functional benefits where they see the quality, in some cases in the B2B space, in investment, it's about the management team, it's about the production, it's about who does what. And then finally, it's the values match. Do the customers or clients see themselves matched in that relationship? And then again, that that leads to brand relevance, which shows your company understands what they care about. And there's two really key things in terms of brand relevance. It's, adapting to your current customers' needs, and then finding new subcategories through disruption to continue to be relevant. So, for example, Katie and I just did a talk a couple of weeks ago with women in the cannabis space, and there was a large group of women there, 50 plus, who were talking about health and wellness for women, and it just appeared to be quite an underserved market and a very active market. So it's a whole new category opening up that you just have to be in touch and adapt as you move forward.
The brand engagement cycle is something that we like to talk about with all categories, and the only thing that's different about it for cannabis is it's a little bit more challenging than other categories. And so this is really about thinking about developing content, thinking about content in a way that's going to be really relevant to your audience and that it'll be shared, and really driving connections. And those connections are going to be significantly more relevant for LPs that are struggling for shelf space or struggling for brand awareness inside retailers. If you're able to drive connection and drive brand awareness outside of the shelves, outside of the stores, by the time those customers actually get into retail or are ordering online at the OCS, it's just in Edmonton this weekend, so it was really nice to see retailers. Mostly sold out of product, but that being said, it was really great to see some retailers. And so, making sure that you're building trust, especially in cannabis, is so important. Consumers really don't know what's going on. I was standing out front of Fire and Flower and listening to people talk about how they were so excited to go buy gummies on the way in, and listening to people talk about how they couldn't wait, to get some other edibles and things like that. And that's not even on the market yet. And these are passionate cannabis people who are very interested in shopping. So there's a lot we need to do to educate consumers out there, and we can really, really strive that through some connection and driving trust. And here's an example of a couple retail outlets, but you see that there's going to be different kinds of experiences. Some retailers are going to feel very medicinally focused, very wellness focused, very Aveda kind of style. Some are a little bit more hipster, a little bit more trendy, a little bit more recreational focused. And so I think that's going to be a really exciting opportunity to see how these different retail outlets emerge for these different brand benefits for these different consumers who are looking for a certain type of experience.
So when you're thinking about marketing cannabis products, really the trifecta is the owned, earned, and paid media elements. And how can you promote and market your business within this very regulated space? So again, through your owned, it's your website, it's your channels, it's all of the pieces that you actually own, don't have to pay for, and can leverage your brand awareness. And as you're looking at companies, it's really important to look at their presence, how their page, how their website works, etc., and how inviting and engaging their digital presence is. And then I'll go to the paid side, which is really about a new kind of advertising that's emerging. It's mostly gated, it's age restricted, it's within the confines of the regulatory. And in addition to that, there's new and emerging paid media coming forward in terms of peer-to-peer, in terms of gaming. And then there's traditional media like the Financial Post and Post Media, who are continuing to maintain a commitment to cannabis advertising through their Cannabis Post. But the key one that really we excel at, and we try to build our clients' profile, is through earned. And that's through press, that's through engagement, that's through becoming a thought leader, positioning your clients as a trusted source and a guide in this really rapidly changing and evolving space. So when we start working with our clients, we look at developing a roadmap and KPIs and really looking at the ROI, because when you're talking about the amount of money you're spending to generate earned media, it's difficult to track it and to see the investment. It's really a long game, but at the same time, we work with getting the right message, the brand narrative, and trying to make it newsworthy at every turn.
Yeah, and what we talk about a lot is that in cannabis, you have to be very nimble. Things are changing all the time. New players are coming to market. New regulations, I mean, the regulations are out, but they say they'll be reviewed in a year. We'll also keep an eye on who's getting warnings and who is getting, anything from Health Canada, and somebody will eventually, and we'll see who is kind of made of an example of in that case. And so it's really important to be on top of what's working, given there's only so many avenues that we can leverage, and steering those dollars towards what's performing best for your brand is something that we're a big advocate for.
Yep.
So if you're only going to take away a few things from this presentation today, number one, really know your audience and have a clear brand positioning. Most of the brands we work with, if you're not there yet, that's okay. Most of the brands we work with come to us and they might have a visual identity, but they definitely have not talked through their brand positioning, how their values, what they mean to consumers. And so that's a very important exercise to go through, and it really organizes your company from the top down, gets everyone on the same page. Understand compliant opportunities and also understanding the risk levels, because like we said, almost everything's a risk. Talk to the lawyers. Lawyers and marketers have different things to say about this. The lawyers tend to win, so talk to your lawyers.
We're very keen.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last piece is we really are big advocates for, embrace PR and brand engagement as key marketing tactics for cannabis. And I think if you come at this in a very authentic way and really target those customers, really positioning brand benefits specifically for them, you will win. You can't be for everyone. You have to be for someone specific and deliver really well for that consumer. There's a lot of competition. So, and that's it for us. We're happy to turn it over for a bit of Q&A. Or not.
Or
No
not.
Q&A. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you. Bye.